Okay, so this second one then is just the fence question. So a couple of you are asking me, how do you find the points on the fence? So in my drawing here, it tells me that it's 150 mil wide by 160 mil to the very top. So to these points is 160 mil, but to this bottom part is 140 mil. So it tells me that there's a 20 mil height of this triangle. So each of these triangles is going to be 20 mils in height. And then from the edge of my post to the center of my triangle is 10 mil. And then from that point there, that's going to set up the rest of our post. So it's 25 mil to the first one, C to the center, 20 mil to the center, to the center. Okay. So first thing I'm going to do is get my center line on the page. So there's my center mark there. I'm just going to draw my line straight up. So make sure keep this super light. So I'm actually going to test this with a 4H just to see how it looks on camera. So you can see there, that's a HB versus a 4H. That could do with a bit of a pairing. Okay, so just make sure when you're going drawing, keep your pencils nice and sharp. It makes drawing the lines a lot easier. So we're a bit better here now. Give it a quick wipe just so it doesn't smudge on our page. Okay, line it up on my mark. Nice light line straight up. Can you see that there? Okay, just about. So I'm gonna go back to my HP just to make sure that everyone can clearly see what I'm doing here. Okay, so there is my center line there. Same thing as usual. I'm gonna come up about 20 mil off the bottom of my title block. So make sure you can see everything I'm doing here. Just come back out a little bit. Okay, so I came up 20 mil, and I'm just going to draw a straight line across. You can see there, I'm not going the whole way across, it's just giving me a reference line to start my drawing. So, if my overall width is 150 mil, so I know my center line is going to be in the middle of this post here somewhere, because I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 posts. So if I pick the one in the middle, I'll have 1, 2, 1, 2, one big post, one big post. So my center line is going to go directly down the middle here somewhere. So I'm going to mark 75 mil out to the left, and then 75 mil out to the right. So 75 mil in the middle, from there to 0, and then from 75 mil to 15, giving me from 0 to 15, which is 150 mil. So I'm going to bring those two lines up from my base. So same again, nice and light, because these are just your construction lines. And then it tells me it goes up 160 mil total and 140 mil to the bottom of our triangles. So I'm going to draw in both lines. So 0 on the bottom, measure up 160, and then there's my 140. I'm going to draw both lines nice and light across. Okay, so there's the bottom of my triangles, there's the top of my triangles. So the spikes in our fence. So it tells me that this post is 20 mil. So I come down here, mark out 20 mil from the edge, 20. And I'm just going to draw this up as far as my 140 mil line, because that is where our post stops, and then it becomes a triangle instead. So you can see here it tells me from this edge to the center is 10 mil. So from this edge here, so if I measure across, so from that edge there to the center is 10 mil, or half of the width of our post. So I'm just going to extend that line straight up until it reaches here. So I'm just going to do a little mark there. So then to get my point, all I need to do is join this point back to my fence post and this point back to my fence post. And there is our first post drawn in. I'll just heavy it in. So there's my first post drawn in, and you can see in the drawing, we don't want any of these lines coming across here. So I'm just gonna put that out, just so everyone is clear with what the final project or final image should look like. So you can see there, when I started rubbing it out, it's kind of taking a bit off my line. So I'm just gonna go back in heavy over that. That's why we try and leave all of our rubbing out to the end. Just make sure that this is lined up. Okay, good stuff. So there's my first post drawn in. Now it tells me that there's a 10mm gap and I have these two dividers. So I need to figure out how high I need to come up for them. So if I look at the side here, it comes up 20. So up 20 from the bottom, and then these are 10mm thick. So I'm coming up 20 from the bottom, and then they're 10mm thick. So I'm just gonna put 10 up. Okay. So there's my two marks. So I'm not going to draw them the whole way across because it doesn't go through our posts here. So I don't want to have to go and rub that out at the end. So I'm just going to leave them two marks there for now. So it doesn't really matter which side either. You could do the marks on this side or you can do them on this side. I just did them on this side because I had nothing drawn on this side yet. So from there, I'm going to just mark them out. So they need to come over 10mm. So I'm going to come down to the bottom here, mark 10mm from the edge of my post. And I'm going to draw that line straight up, nice and light, because we have two of them. So you can see here, we have one up here and one down here. So by me drawing it right up to the top there, it just makes sure that I don't have to come back and do it again later. So I'll line up my two marks. So from there to there. There's my second mark, and from there to there. So there's that. And I can just heavy the start of this line in. I can heavy it all in actually, because it's our next fence post. So there's that. Now I just need to come up to the top and do the exact same thing. So I need to come down 10mm, so down 20, down 10mm, so down 30mm in total. So come down 20, and there's our 10, so that's actual marks. And do the same thing, line up my marks, draw across, line up my second one, draw across. Okay, so now we've drawn, this is part 1, this is 2, this is 3, I've drawn 1, 2, 3. Now I just need to find how am I going to get to this next point. So it tells me from this point here to my next point is 25mm. So along that line that we've drawn at the top, you can either place your set square on that point there and try and measure across, or you can come in and say, okay, so this is in 10mm from this edge. So if I add 10 and 25, so 10 plus 25, that gives me 35mm. So that would be the same as me lining 0 up on my edge here and marking 35mm. So because I've extended that line up here, I can do it from up here. So here's my 0 on the line, the edge of my fence post, over 35mm, there's my mark. So then I'm just going to bring that mark down to where it should, the top of my fence post should hit. So from there to there. So there's the tip of my fence post. I need to mark in the width of my fence here, so it's 10mm wide. So anywhere at all, just mark in from that edge to this edge is 10mm. Okay, so there's the width of my fence post coming up, and now all I need to do is from that line there back to my point, and then from my point back to the other side of my fence. And there is my second bit of my fence drawn in. So you can see how it can be a bit tricky, but once you start breaking down all the measurements, it does work out a bit easier. So see 4 more posts come across, or 4 more fence pickets I should say, and then a post there at the very end. So if anyone has any troubles with it, each step is the exact same as what we've done for the 2 of these. So it repeats itself the whole way across. So I'll just show you for the next step that I would go for. So I would go for 4 and 5 here. So I come straight up. Because I've left these 2 marks over the far edge, I know exactly where I'm starting, except I don't know how far across I'm going. So I come down to the bottom again, or even middle, anywhere at all, line it up with the edge of my fence post, or picket I should say again, 10 mil, draw your lines straight up. That can be heavy because that's another post. And then I just start lining them up. So there's my point here. It's the same as this. Make sure you don't go through your other fence that you just have to draw on. There's the top. Down to the bottom there. So there's that bit there. Down to the bottom. That bit there. So there's 4 and 5. So you can see here, that's the next section we've drawn in. So all I need to do is come across 10 mil, draw my line straight up. Okay, and then just start marking my top. So the next one, instead of being 25, it comes across 20 mil. So I'm marking 20 mil over from that center point there. So you can do the same thing, put the point there, come across 20 mil and mark it. Or you can come to your edge again and add these together. So 25 and 20 is 45 and 10 is 55. So 10 plus 25 is 20, 55. So I can measure 55 mil from that edge there, and then just mark that down to the top point of my fence line. So then I go from here to here, and here to here. There's my second fence in. Okay, so you repeat the exact same process the whole way across. I don't really mind which way you do it for finding the point. So I like to just have a line that's coming up from the edge and work from left to right. So that way, in the event, like say this one was off by half a mil or a mil, then that would show your next one off by a mil, your next one would be off by 2 mil, then your third one would be off by 3 mil. And it just, by the time you get to the end, they'd all look a bit crooked. So by doing it from your reference line here over the far edge, it just makes it that bit easier that you're just adding your measurements the whole way across. So have a go at it. Make sure if you have any troubles, write it down in your sheet and you can show it to me the next day. Thank you.